Welcome to On the Beat, where we bring you a different Buffalo Bills beat reporter every week, exclusively on the Overreaction Sports Network.
Well, what is going on, everybody? Welcome everybody into this episode of On the Beat, brought to you exclusively on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. This is a show where we bring you a different Buffalo Bills beat reporter every single week to talk about the topics swirling around our beloved Buffalo Bills. My name is Joe Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at Joe Miller Wired. Please do us a favor. Please like, please subscribe, whatever platform you are consuming this production on right now, whether it's live right now or it's in post as a podcast on pretty much any podcast platform. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, leave us a review, all that good stuff. Excited to have everybody joining us for this episode today. 1/3 of the probably one of the best Bills beat coverages around from WHAM 13 Rochester, Buffalo Plus podcast, Dan Fetes, ladies and gentlemen. Dan, how nice it must be to not have to commute to Buffalo a couple days a week, right?
It's been very nice, Joe. Thanks for having me back on. We just moved out to Fairport, which is right next to Pittsford, so it's been an even shorter commute for myself. My wife was like, "Hey, like, how's camping?" I was like, "It's been good because I get to wake up and just go 10 minutes down the road. It's been very nice."
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah, that's awesome. So what, we're 3 weeks in, right? 3 weeks into camp?
Yeah.
And this is the last week. So this camp is a little bit shorter than normal. Normally we're in Rochester longer than we are this year, yes?
This is what it's been like, I think, since they returned post-pandemic. It's been about 2.5-ish, 3 weeks with 11 practices open to the media. There were 12. Obviously, Monday's practice was closed to the public. That's what I meant. And this is kind of what we've been accustomed to the last few years.
Gotcha. Very cool. Yeah, it's when the schedule came out, it was like me, John, and Jerry were just kind of like there's not very many. They're not there for very long, so it was just a little bit odd. I felt like it had been like 4 or 5 weeks that the team had been there. But yes, I think when they found out they could do it in Buffalo, it turned into why don't we just do it in Buffalo? But
that was the fear. I think that's what it was for a lot of times. Was like, hey, like, will they ever come back to Rochester? Obviously, with COVID precautions and all of those things that were going on, it was easier to do it there with the testing and everything that had to go in. We're hearing there's more rumors that it will be somewhat of a long-term deal because it's kind of been year to year at Fisher. But as of right now, this is kind of what the status quo has been.
Very good. Very good. Well, I'm excited to talk to you about a couple things just kind of circling around training camp. The big news for today actually isn't Buffalo Bills news necessarily when you're thinking about James Cook and standing on his business. It's been reported that Kyren Williams from the Rams running back agreed on a 3-year, $33 million extension, including $23 million guaranteed, which kind of is about the area when you look at production-wise, when you look at how long they've been in the league, effectively where we think James Cook is going to fit. Thoughts on that, and what do you think this means for James?
I don't know if this is a better deal for Bean, I think, in his negotiations than it is for James. I think this is exactly what Kyren Williams deserved, to be paid as a top 10 running back, whether it's the 7 through 8 range. We were talking about this at training camp. Like, I fully understand everything that James has done. I understand him wanting to get his money. Running backs don't get a ton of contracts. So fighting for his money, and I'm never going to be somebody that's like, oh, come on, play for his deal. Like, come on, just do this. Like, that's just not, I think you're being naive to how the NFL works. And for we'll have people in our comments on Buffalo Plus and be like, well, his contract says he has to be here and play. It's like, so you're saying that the player needs to abide by his contract, but when a team cuts a player in the middle of their contract, you're totally fine with that. Like, just think about the hypocrisy of what this is. So, like, I honestly think I know some people were kind of confused by the hold-in at practice 8 is what I think it was.
Right.
I think it made sense. Look, and here's my reason why. James did everything right that he was supposed to do. He showed up to involuntary workouts. He showed up to OTAs. He showed up when he was supposed to at training camp. He spoke on the second day of training camp and said all of the right things, I thought. Yeah, he said he wants he's never going to give up about all this stuff. But for us in the media, it was like, okay, this is kind of over. Like, the contract stuff we're good. Like, they've almost agreed to disagree. And it's almost like for the last week and a half, Joe, I forgot about James Cook's contract because he was here and he was practicing. Right. And so for him to all of a sudden say, hang on, I showed up as a sign. He said, I showed up as a sign of good faith to the Bills to show them, look, I'm doing all the right things. I'm here for my teammates. I want to be here. And then all of a sudden, everybody's like, all right, cool. That's it. And now James is like, oh, hey, guys, I still want my contract. Hey, guys, don't forget about me. And now we're talking about James Cook's contract again. In that move, it's a solid move. This is the only time he can do this because once the season starts, he can be fined. He can lose game checks. This is the play. So seeing Kyren Williams' contract wasn't, I don't think, great because we said at training camp, and it's not that hard to name 6 or 7 running backs that are not arguable are better than James Cook. Like it's a pretty clear list, whether it's the top guys like Saquon and Christian McCaffrey and all these guys. And then you're like, oh yeah, this guy's better. And this guy, like it is about 5 or 6 guys easily that you would take, every team would take before James Cook. He is in that 7 to 10 range, a really good running back that is right now fighting for his money. So I think Bean smiled a little bit more than James did when this Kyren Williams contract came out.
Yeah, I agree too. So it's, you look at Saquon Barkley, $20 million, and then you got Derrick Henry, $15 million, and none of us feel like that's the threshold or the area that he should be. And I put a tweet out today accidentally that just talked about like $12.5 million, 4 years, consume his last year, make it 5, give an easy out at the end, and it probably works. As far as AVV, 12.5. Looking at the numbers, Ryan Talbot from Syracuse.com said the career numbers, 4 yards per carry, 2,600 for James Cook, 883 receiving yards, 27 total touchdowns. Kyren Williams, 4.5 yards per carry, 2,500 yards rushing, 64 yards per receptions, receiving yards, and 31 total. I mean, they're close. Like, they're pretty, like, Kyren is a little bit better. Yep. Situationally, I think Kyren's on the field a little more than James is, but that's obviously probably due to the type of offenses they run.
Absolutely.
But I think you're right. I think Brandon Beane is probably not that it's evil, some evil like giggle in the back, but he's probably like, all right.
Yeah, and you say that too. They're all similar in so many different ways. And you can look at it. The one thing that stands out to me is the percentage of snaps. I think Kyren Williams was like 89% of the snaps. Correct. And James Cook was like 45-ish.
Less than half.
So, and I always remember going back to this, like it's funny now to kind of look back and what you were talking about and what your thoughts were. And I said, going into this offseason, I will know where the Bills feel about James Cook on whether or not they do with Ty Johnson. Because if James Cook wants to be this 3-down back, which he has said he wants to, and we know how competitive he is. I've been on the field and been filming him after a run, and he gets the 3rd down, and he drops his head because he has to come off the field. That's not him being a poor sport. That's him being a football player and competitive. Right. And Sean's talked about it, that he comes off the field and he slaps his hand sometimes like pissed, like slapping the coach's hand. Like, you took me out again. But this offense Ty Johnson has found such a nice niche and role in this offense. And that's not just my opinion. Josh has said he's the best 3rd-down back in the league. Joe Brady has loved him. He has been such a weapon for this team. And when they signed him, it was like, oh, James ain't playing on 3rd down. Like, it's just not going to happen. So where the Kyren Williams, where you're getting the $12 million AVV, like, he's playing 3rd down. And so do the Bills think that paying $12 million, and who knows where they are and how close or not close they are you going to pay that for a guy that only plays in theory 45 to 50% of your snaps? That's the question.
Right. And I guess you got to wonder, because as much as it feels like this is a win for Brandon Beane, we don't know what's behind the scenes. I mean, they very much could be offering him 9.5. Yeah. And this could be James Cook pumping his fist going, yes, get me closer to that. Like,
great point.
That's where I want to be. Talking with Dan Fetes from WHAM 13 Rochester and the Buffalo Plus podcast. It's great to have you. Moving on to the next thing. Also, what dropped today was the Bills' first depth chart. I'm going to ask you, was there anything on it that surprised you?
No, not really. It's tricky too, Joe, to kind of break it down with all the injuries. Like, and that's my thing. We were just talking about on the podcast the other day. Like, I'm really struggling to have a feel, a vibe of anything about this offense. And that sounds weird. And then Mike was like, Yeah, well, everybody's been injured. And I was like, that's a great point. Like, I'm sitting here going, man, D-line looks really good. I'm watching the one-on-ones. I'm like, the DBs are winning a lot more than the wide receivers are. And it's like, oh yeah, Shakir's out. James Cook isn't on the field. Knox and Kincaid have both been banged up. All these things. And you're like, oh yeah, all of that adds up on top of normally at this time of the year, defenses are ahead of the offense. So all of that factors into, so the depth chart didn't really surprise me by any means. Maybe Bosa being the starter, like right off the get-go, I could have seen him maybe being behind Epinesa just for the sake of first
Preseason.
depth chart of the preseason. Like what are we really going to, are we going to throw a fit about anything? That was kind of what I guess I just looked at.
So for me, I had to go back and research it because when I saw it, I was like, it gave me like the GIF on Twitter, like the what? Like it was like, so I checked 2023, I checked 2024, and that's as far back as I went. The Buffalo Bills produced a depth chart today, the first one with a traditional 4-3 linebacking core with 3 linebacking groups. The last 2 years, it's been 4 down linemen, 2 linebacking groups. So literally, I want to know what this means. And I pray to God one of you ask Sean, like, you produced a depth chart in a 4-3 traditional defense. Where is this going? And he'll probably brush it off and be like, it means nothing, but I doubt it. I don't think it means nothing.
Yeah, that's a really good tidbit to find, Joe, because trying to cycle through and figure that out, that's interesting. And that's not even something, because I'm so used to them just being a nickel and Taryn being that third linebacker, obviously nickel corner. That's interesting. What?
Yeah, what? Like it got me. I was like, huh.
Yeah.
That and the other thing, personnel wise, was just where they had slotted Hoyt and Ogunjobi, just because those guys are going to be gone.
Yeah,
I would have expected them to slot. Not that they're not going to play in the preseason, but it was definitely it was interesting to me. Outside of that, it's just like you said, it's a preseason first depth chart. It means absolutely nothing where guys are at for all intents and purposes. I did like that Tre'Davious White had the starting spot at corner. Clearly, they're going to make Maxwell Hairston earn that spot, and he's injured. We know that as well, but he wasn't just penciled in as the starter. But yeah, it was interesting. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens. Got you for a couple more minutes here. I want to just kind of stay on this for a second. Who are you looking for this Saturday in this preseason game? Like who are your eyes going to be on?
Dorian Strong is the big one for me. Obviously, he's been pointed out a couple times for the fact of, hey, there are some injuries, obviously, with Maxwell Harrison being out, and who knows how long he's going to be out. Sean made a point. This is kind of a small tangent, but like when Sean talked about the fact that and compared it to Cole Bishop's injury last year at training camp and missing that amount of time, it made me cringe. Because that was the big thing we talked about with Cole was like he missed such valuable time. It put him behind the 8 ball that the train doesn't stop. Like, and you're kind of chasing it. That stinks because I thought Max had up and down moments. And a guy that they point out was like Dorian Strong's going to get some reps. And I liked him as a 6th round pick. I liked him at rookie minicamp. I thought he has a lot of that, in a way, a little bit of that Christian Benford physicality, length. The IQ I thought I'd been really high on. He's also had up and down moments at camp. So some of that is, and he's worked a bunch with the cornerbacks coach before practice, getting to see them go through little things. So that's one of the ones I'm really looking at. And again, you talked about Michael Hoyt. I'm trying to figure out like what I think of him. I think the Bills think very highly of him for the contract they paid him, knowing he had the PED suspension. So to know that you would still want to sign the guy for 3 years in that, because he hasn't gotten a ton of run with the ones. So sometimes like at camp, it's long days and it's like, all right, like we talked about it. There hasn't been many battles, like position battles, like everything, especially offensively. So when the first team kind of goes out, like that's when I kind of check my phone. That's when I'll tweet out what I've seen before. But then I've seen him like dominate backups. So it's like, where does he fit? Is he too good for the backups, but not good enough to be with the ones? How does that all play into it? So those are kind of the 2 guys, especially defensively. And then I'm super high on TJ Sanders and Deion Walker, getting to see what they can do in a real padded physical setting, like a preseason game. That's what I'm excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Deion Walker too. It's interesting to me that Deion Walker, the ESPN in their depth charts had Deion Walker slated above TJ Sanders. The only thing I can think is that's because TJ went unsigned.
Yeah.
Just due to the slotting thing for as long as he did. Obviously here he's slotted in at number 2. Starters wise, do we know who got a feeling for what we're going to see? Or are you going to find that out later this week?
I'm sure we'll find out later this week. I'm sure we'll ask Sean tomorrow. He'll say we're still figuring it out. Thursday, he'll probably tell us Josh isn't playing. Obviously, the rest of the wide receivers, who knows? And that's where it's tough. It's tough to evaluate. I remember like the Pittsburgh game last year. It was great to see Joe Andreessen do what he did, but I was trying to evaluate Keon Coleman, and it's like, well, he's got Mitch Trubisky throwing to him. Like that's tough to evaluate some of these things. Yeah. So I am going to take all the offensive stuff with a grain of salt because I don't expect 17 to be out there by any means.
You bring up Mitch Trubisky. It's such a weird story, Mitch Trubisky, and obviously being here behind Josh Allen, there's an expectation you're never going to play Mitchell Trubisky, former first-round draft pick of the Bears. I almost like Mike White more as a quarterback than I want to see Mike throw to these guys. And who knows, maybe we'll see those two flip-flop through preseason, maybe. Yeah,
I think that it's a real competition for the first time in a while. Like, I really think this is a true competition to see who's going to back up Josh. We've said it time and time again. It's nothing against Mitch. Like, I don't want it to seem like I'm piling on the guy, but it's like, I know what Mitch Trubisky is at this point.
Yes.
I'm not fully sure what Mike White is. And I think that Mike White's ceiling is higher. I think his floor is lower, but I would ride that variance rather than check down, scramble in the NFL. So I'm much higher on Mike White, who's also had an up and down camp, but like I was sitting there going, I've seen enough of Mitch. And then he throws everything he had into a 50-yard bomb to Deion Kane the one day. And I went, it was almost like he heard me on the sidelines be like, I'm all set with Mitch. So again,
did he look at you after he threw it?
Yeah, it was like, who's that Buffalo Plus idiot? Like, how do you get this? So, I do want to see Mike White in a setting with at least some of the ones, to some respect. If he could be throwing to Keon, I'd be more interested in seeing that.
It's a super bizarre situation with Trubisky. It's almost like it's very reminiscent to me of, and Dan, I'm much older than you, and I don't necessarily know how old you are, and I'm not going way back, but like Trent Edwards. Like Trent Edwards was a machine until he got crushed in that Cardinals game, and then he was afraid to throw the football. Like
that's how it feels with Mitch. It feels like I don't want. It's mean to say like it's just checkdowns, but that's just what it feels like. And to see Mitch throw a ball, again, way better athlete than I'll ever be. He's a professional player, all these things, but it's like every throw he's trying to get like everything into it. And like the ball just seems to come out better from Mike White's hands. I've seen higher highs out of Mike White than I have of Mitch Trubisky. Yeah. But I'll say this, it's a pretty sweet gig for the next 8 years if you're Josh Allen's good friend. Like you're going to have a gig somewhere. I think that's a part of the reason why Shane Buechele is still hanging around, because I think that good vibes guy and they like each other.
Yeah, I think that we haven't done any preseason predictions on roster predictions yet, but I would imagine that both of those guys don't make this roster, right? So one of those two guys, Mike White and Trubisky's gone, and then Shane Buechele will stick around. Yep. Last question on this before my final set of questions. Cole Bishop is slated in this depth chart as the starter, which I think is expected. How has Cole? You brought him up a little bit ago. How has he looked the part? Does he look good so far in training camp?
He's looked fine. Definitely better. It still is. I heard Bobby Babich talk about it again and cycling guys in. And what stood out to me, I made this same exact take last year. And I won't go that far, but I said last year before this time, I said, DeMar Hamlin's going to be the starter. Everybody's like, what do you mean? And I go, he knows the system. And Bobby goes, it's such a complex defense. The checks, all of the things that go into pre-snap. If you don't know it, they're the quarterback of the defense. That's what Babich said. And if you're going to put it out there that doesn't have the experience, doesn't have the knowledge, and has had trouble staying on the field. If Cole doesn't start this year, Cole lost the job. He's been given every opportunity to get it. It stinks that now he has a quad injury that has been keeping him out. But this is kind of a lingering thing of, can he be available? And to hear Bobby talk about, when he was asked about DeMar the other day, he goes, consistent, knows the defense. And I thought, bing. And DeMar's gotten so much unnecessary, I think, hate from fans. At this point, it was like, he's not good. He stinks. Like, he doesn't stink. Is he a starting safety? Probably not. You would love to have DeMar be your 3 safety on the depth chart.
Yeah.
But you're going to go with a guy that's experienced and knows the system over a rookie. Now, where does that line cross between giving the rookie the shot and going with the experience? I don't know. That's up to Sean and Bobby.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of the Bills corner Levi Levi Wallace, right?
Yep.
Where it was like he got a lot of hate, but it's at the end of the day, he was just doing what they asked him to do, which was keep the play in front of him. Don't get beat. Go ahead.
I kept calling him the ugly penny. It was like they brought in guys every year to replace Levi Wallace. And every year, week 1, we're like, Levi starting. Because he knew enough. He wasn't, I'm not saying it was because he was better than everybody else. He just was just enough better to get the job.
Well, I think Sean was asked one time about Levi Wallace versus other people, and that was the answer he gave. He does exactly what we ask him to do, which is just keep the play in front of him. He's not meant to attack the ball. He's not meant to attack the receiver. Just keep it in front of him, which, we watched it, and it was frustrating at times, but, it worked, and he wasn't necessarily wrong. I want to ask you a quick question just about the special coming up tonight. It's Tuesday night that we're recording this, Hard Knocks. Before I do, tell everybody where they can find your stuff, Dan.
Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, just like you guys, like, comment, subscribe. We really appreciate it. At Dan Fetes on social media, Buffalo Plus on Instagram, TikTok as well. We're trying to grow that stuff.
Yeah, you guys are crushing it. Yeah, it was funny to see all you guys start to show up on TikTok too, including Jenna and Buffalo. Like, it's like, what is happening? Like when Jenna first started, I started seeing her videos pop through my feed. I was like, is somebody stealing her stuff? Is this a fake account?
All right, so it's working, Joe. I appreciate that. It's been a big push by corporate. I go, we're trying to do the social media and all of that stuff, and run do a sportscast on the nightly news over here at 13 WHAM. So it's like, by the way, they're like, can you guys do this? Like, we only got so much time and so much manpower. So I'm glad that at least it's getting to some people.
Yeah, I get a lot of Bill stuff through my For You page. But last question for you, just around Hard Knocks. I know you guys it sounds like, or you said that you're doing a little bit of a watch party. How's that experience been, having NFL Films around and the Hard Knocks crew? And has it been an adjustment, or has it been pretty normal?
It's been normal in the sense of, I was explaining it to, I think it was Matt Beauvais. We were talking about it. It's like the difference between going to a 1:00 game and filming on the sidelines. There's not that many TV cameras. And then you go to a Sunday night game or a Monday night game, and there's dozens of cameras. And so the sidelines are more crowded, things like that. You just look everywhere. There's a camera. They followed Brandon Bean. We had him on our podcast. We've done it for 2 years in a row. He's come to Mike's Patio, which is right across the street from Fisher. They were expecting, the executive director is from Penfield. So a Rochester connection. We had him on our podcast. And then when he knew that Bean was coming over, he's like, hey, do you mind if we tap into the audio? And we're like, no problem. That's really cool. We thought there'd be one audio guy from Hard Knocks. They rolled in with 9 people and 4 cameras. We got mic'd up by NFL Films. I don't know if we'll be on it. We signed waivers. They have our permission. We don't know if we made the final cut, but it was pretty surreal to be like, we talked to Bean before. Didn't expect it to be with an entire NFL film crew, which was pretty surreal to be mic'd up as growing up as a kid, especially for Mike. Like Mike's grew up on NFL Films, and to be mic'd up by them was pretty wild.
Yeah, that's cool. There I am. I'm on TV. Right. This is
it's gonna be the DiCaprio meme. That's what we're waiting for.
Exactly. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. So Jerry and John are in Buffalo, and we will be at training camp tomorrow, Wednesday. So we'll see you out there. Jerry and John will actually be on the field. I don't get to be on the field because I'm not a former NFL player, but we'll have to, I don't think you and I have actually ever met. I've met Matt, I've met Ryan, I've met a bunch of you guys, but I've never actually met you. So I'll make sure that we connect, shake hands, get a little bit of a bro hug in there, but appreciate the time.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for making this work.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to On the Beat on the Overreaction Buffalo Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. My name is Joe. On behalf of me, John, Jerry, for all of us here at Overreaction, appreciate you guys. Love you. Go Bills. We'll talk to you soon.